more than that divides us. Thank you very, very much, Lauren Simonetti. Of course, that period was famous for days afterwards. Republicans and Democrats stepping on the floor outside the Capitol to sing the national anthem together. That was then. A lot of people said it couldn't be repeated since, but actually it has. In a lot of natural disasters we've seen play out just in the last couple of weeks in Texas and now in Florida. So it's in us to be reunited and to do the things that we should be doing that go beyond politics. So the lessons from that 16 years later and punctuated since with Independent Women's Forum senior policy analyst Patrice Lee-Onwuka and GOP strategist Gianna Caldwell. Gianna, I end with you. I want to begin with you in this notion of bipartisanship. We might have seen the first hints of that, whether it was well telegraphed or orchestrated by the president or not, to work with Democrats to come up with more bipartisan support to raise the debt ceiling, provide aid to victims, maybe get some help on tax cuts. So the spirit is alive, but is it going to deliver? What do you think?
Well, Neil, I got a Fox News exclusive, so listen very closely. Donald Trump has demonstrated that he's willing to go at this alone or even with the Democrats if Republicans don't get on board. So that's the exclusive here. I think that President Trump will continue to try to make deals where he can, because I'm sure that there's been a feeling throughout this White House that there's stagnation. He made a number of commitments on the campaign trail that he was going to deliver on, and the Republican caucus hasn't been able to deliver on repeal and replace of Obamacare, pushing tax reform by, I think it was August, I think we were looking at initially. There was a number of issues that have not gotten done, and Trump, I'm sure President Trump, saw that he can make a deal with the Democrats, although I didn't agree with the deal. I didn't agree with the merits of the deal. It wasn't a conservative deal. It didn't cut spending or any of those things, and it took the cap off the debt ceiling. But I think that he sees some real promise at getting something done, and I think that's what we're going to continue to see from this president.
All right. I don't know if in the spirit of bipartisanship, just switching your lot, Patrice, with Democrats and no Republicans is the answer, but I understand what Gianna was saying here, that maybe this president is sensing that there is an opportunity for bipartisanship here that might force both parties to reconsider their often intransigent positions. What do you think?
I think it's interesting. He pulled the Maverick card, and we just heard Senator John McCain today saying, well, this is not a bipartisan move at all. So it's a little bit of irony there. It's important that we do get tax reform, and I think Americans are looking for that, particularly key demographics who want to move, like young people and like women who manage the household budgets. Saving $1,000 a month is going to be big when we're considering the things that we pay for. But the problem with this deal is that it pushes a lot to the end of the year. And when we consider that we're going to be dealing with another fresh budget fight, along with what to do about Obamacare taxes and what to do about DACA, it's going to be another contentious holiday season. So happy holidays. I just
wonder, guys. I know I hear what you're saying, but Gianna, I wonder when I see events like these, and we're reminded 16 years ago what happened. I know you guys are still in grade school, but I mean, my point is...
I was in high school.
I was in college.
I'm joking, but to make the point that you're very young, and that the point is as well that a lot of people think that this camaraderie is fleeting and is short-lived. I argue that it's happened enough in our history that it is more the rule than the exception. What do you think, Gianna?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of different elements. In 2001, September 11, 2001, I was a freshman at Simeon High School in Chicago, so I remember that day quite well and immediately prayed for the families that were impacted. But moving on to your greater point here, Neil, I think that Democrats do want to see some movement on tax reform. I know that Representative Roscom from Illinois has been, and he's on the Ways and Means subcommittee. He's been reaching out to Democrats to get some of their ideas. There's going to be some level of bipartisanship. I think what Democrats don't want to see is there being any lowering of taxes for the wealthy, but they want to see the lowering of taxes for the middle class is what has been at least reported. So I think there's the potential. I mean, obviously, we've seen there being a lot of possible deals when it comes to bipartisanship in this Congress, and we only saw one particular item really get done, and that was last week. So I'm not necessarily holding my breath, but I'm hopeful that at least this is the one issue that Democrats and Republicans can agree, and that's saving the American people money and making the tax code simpler.
Yeah, well, and also, and these hurricanes prove it about providing relief because you don't see Democrats or Republicans suffering, you just see human beings suffering. But Patrice hadn't said that.
That's right.
There is still a resistance among the party's extreme bases, right? The conservatives on the right and the far liberals on the left, that there is a resistance to look like you're giving in or that you're blinking. Do you think that that makes progress slow? Because that's still out there.
I mean, yeah, the extremes tend to get the headlines, and they tend to be able to hold enough power to slow down things like Obamacare repeal, or in other instances on the left. I mean, I do think, though, that there may be enough coming together, particularly as Republicans are seeing that the president is not playing games, and that when it comes to something like tax reform, they need to come together. But, as I remember September 11th, I don't forget that, unity was beautiful in this country. It didn't mean that we gave up our differences of philosophy or thought. It just meant that we came together against a common enemy and a common threat. And in this case, when we look at our taxes and tax reform, we're talking about prosperity. We want to ensure everyone has prosperity. And I think that should be a way for everyone to come together, even if you have differences on the margins. Yeah,
now there's possible room for camaraderie here. Guys, I want to thank you both.
And one real quick point, too, that if you saw the Steve Bannon interview, that's another element that we haven't really been prepared for, because Steve Bannon is really going after the establishment, and I'm not sure how much of the blessing that he received from President Trump, but we're going to see a whole lot more of that, and that's one of those almost fringe groups, if you will, as you put it earlier, Neil.
Yeah, he didn't sound like he was giving any ground, but we'll see. All right, guys, I want to thank you both. Very much. By the way, John, I have ties older than you. I'll just leave it at that. In the meantime, Miami resident